So in their first 3 games of the season, the Bulls got decimated on the defensive end. Just decimated. And the numbers, the box score, don't even tell the true story. The first 3 games, they gave up 124, 125, 129 points, respectively. And if you want to be honest with yourselves, the Hawks, in particular in that opening night, had such a dominant lead at halftime that they were able to back off and, play a lot of the scrubs, so to speak, in the second half. Otherwise, they would have given up way more than 124 to the Hawks. A similar thing to the Pacers to a lesser degree. It was nice to see the Bulls fight back in that second game and try to pull a little bit closer to Indiana, but they just didn't have enough. And again, defensively, they really struggled. And then when you look at the game against Golden State on Sunday, it was a clear example of don't let another bad team hang around. You're tempting fate here. You're playing with fire because eventually Steph Curry can burn your ass, and that's what happened. So going into this 4th game of the season on the road against the Washington Wizards and also 0-3 team, you're looking to see how this team can respond defensively. And it's not just about the X's and O's of defense. It's about just a lack of what appeared to be fundamental understanding of basic defensive basketball principles. Like incredibly late on rotations or not rotating at all, guys botching assignments on the pick and roll, you name it. But even worse than that, when you're a young team and you're not in theory very good because you're not very good, you better hustle and you better play hard. And I saw far too many moments in those first 3 games where the Bulls just were easily conceding buckets that they should be forcing the other teams to have to earn. And teams weren't having to earn their shots. They were just getting them pretty much willy-nilly at will. So I wanted to see how this team would respond to Billy Donovan, what type of energy level, what type of effort, what type of hustle would this team put forward Tuesday night against the Wizards. And to their credit, they responded. They absolutely did. I think Bulls fans would agree, not just because of the fact that they won this game 115 to 107. It was easily their best overall performance of the season. Not even close. Even if they had lost this game somehow, some way, which it never really was all that much in doubt in the second half because Washington certainly didn't come to play. I don't know what the hell was wrong with them, but you look at this game and you say, okay, the Bulls fought harder. They were much more aggressive. They were assertive. They weren't afraid to get physical. They weren't backing off. They were hustling. They were doing these things that they had in the first 3 games of the year. Zach LaVine led the way with 23 points. Kobe White, the poor man's Ben Gordon added 18. Pizza Porter in another revenge game against his former team, the Wizards, chipped in 16. Wendell Carter had a double-double, 10 points and 12 rebounds. And I like what I saw out of Patrick Williams, too, whereas he shot the ball relatively well, had 12 points. To me, it's more about assertiveness and aggressiveness with him and the confidence of being willing to attack and not being afraid to attack. And I saw more of that attack. Now, early on in the game, he was being aggressive and the shots weren't falling, but as you got into the second half, they certainly would. I wish I would see him step up and be more of a presence right now. I know he was a 4th overall pick, so I have a certain level of expectations when you take a guy that high. Matching that, though, with the fact that he's a project. He's going to take quite a while to develop. I'm patient with that. I understand that. At the same token, it's frustrating to me because he's in a situation where he should be getting a little bit more of the offense run through him. He should be in a spot where he's getting rewarded for the defensive effort that he's putting in. At one point in time in the game, they brought in Patrick Williams to face off against Bertrands because they wanted to make sure that Bertrands didn't get a rhythm and didn't get going. They're recognizing Patrick Williams for what he could do on the defensive end, at least what they see so far, and his effort and his hustle and all of that. I would like to see more of the offense run through him. But all in all, a good, solid performance for the Bulls to get their first win of the year. For the Wizards, really the story of the game, too many turnovers, way too much in the way of sloppy play. It's not just turnovers that equal sloppy play. They were sloppy. You talk about the end of the first half, they didn't even get a shot off. It was just those small little fundamental things throughout the course of the game. They're just really, really bad. Their spacing was poor. You had a lot of guys just standing around and just watching Russ or watching Bradley Beal and waiting for them to do something, and you just can't do that. And you talk about this Wizards team, and you're saying you're 0-3. How do you come into this game, a winnable game, where you should clearly be the favored team, are the favored team, and you come out completely and totally flat. Like, not even a little flat. Entirely flat. Because as much as we talk about the Bulls and them playing their best game of the year, it's still a reality of where maybe the final score is a little bit misleading because in the second half the Bulls were a little more dominant. You feel like if the Wizards ever could get any energy and sustain any energy and have any motivation to actually show up and play in this game, that they might have still won. But they didn't. You know, you had Bradley Beal put up 29 of the quietest points that I've seen in quite a long time. Like, you think about that. He put up almost 30. And do you even remember Beal doing much in the game? In fact, at one point in time, he was out for a little while. Most thing I remember is they were talking about he was in the concussion protocol. And then, since I'm here in the RVA area, I get the Comcast Sportsnet Washington. And so I decided to watch the game instead of paying for League Pass on the NBA site. I decided, instead of paying for the game, I'll watch it and watch the local team and see what they say about it. And then we're sitting there pumping up Russell Westbrook and all of this and all of that. Well, he's had 2 straight triple-doubles, and tonight I'm sure he's going to get that third one. Hey, a-holes. His triple-doubles don't fucking matter when his team loses. They're now 0-4. There's nothing to defend here. There's nothing to make excuses or justifications for. The Washington Wizards have 2 all-star level players in Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. They should not be having the Bulls coming in with a bunch of garbage scores like a Zach LaVine and a bunch of young kids and outplaying you, out-hustling you, and beating you. And that's exactly what happened. So I don't understand this fascination. Even when I was watching postgame, they were trying to pump up like Russell Westbrook did all these great things. Well, his leadership wasn't there last night. He clearly wasn't making anybody better around him with the 11 assists that he had. Like, what the hell is the problem here? Like, stop talking about these triple-doubles like there's some great, fantastic thing when they are in large part a byproduct of the changing NBA game. Like, triple-doubles are way more common now, and that's by design. You know, you're running up and down the floor more. You're taking a lot more shots. You got a lot more opportunities at bricks, which means more opportunities for rebounds, especially when you're telling your big men to not be as focused on it because you want Russ to get the ball in his hands as quick as possible. And when you're talking about a high usage rate in terms of handling the ball, of course, naturally he's going to get a lot of assists, but that doesn't mean he creates opportunities for others. Like when I was watching the game, one of the things that was fascinating to me about Wizards and Bulls on Tuesday night was seeing Patrick Williams versus Denny Avdija. You know, it was very plain in what I had said before the draft and after the draft that I would have preferred Avdija. And I thought both of these guys played pretty well. But you could clearly see that Denny Avdija had multiple situations in the game where he could have taken shots, frankly should have taken shots, but you could see that he was being deferral to Russell Westbrook. Like, he was literally at moments, it appeared, terrified that if he took a shot, that Brodie was going to beat that ass. Like, Russell Westbrook has room to talk to anybody about their shooting touch. So, it's not a surprise to me that Russell Westbrook puts up these numbers and they don't matter. And now you're talking about a Wizards team that should be thinking about the playoffs. They're thinking about when the hell are they actually going to get their first win. They're hoping it'll come on the flip side here. Thursday, they host the Bulls again. But this Wizards team, you could talk about Hachimura being out, but that's one dude. And you got 2 all-stars. Like, you should be beating this Bulls team. This should have been a get-right game for them, and they absolutely wasn't. And it doesn't help when you got Raul Neto going 0 for 6 for 3. Davis Bertrand's apparently still playing himself back into game shape. He was only 3 for 9 from 3. You know, Bradley Beal was 1 for 5 from 3. I think Westbrook was 1 for 4. So you're talking about, 5 for 24 out of 4 of your guys from 3? Like, you're going to struggle to beat anybody doing that in today's game, especially when the Bulls on the flip side hit 41% of their threes. They had a relatively decent shooting night from outside. Good enough, certainly, to carry the day for them. So it's good to see the Bulls get their first win. I'll say that, but let's not get it twisted here. This Bulls team is still really bad. And when I look at this team, I feel like it's going to be one of these really conflicted seasons for me because I'm absolutely of the mindset of they're nothing. It's got to be all about the young guys and certain young guys at that. and it's about draft positioning and developing those couple of core key young guys. That's what matters most. Some of these games like this win here tonight, if Patrick Williams would have been featured as more of a part of the offense and put up over 20, but this team lost by 20, I'd probably feel better about that than I would this meaningless win against a Wizards team that doesn't know what the hell they're doing right now. I mean, I'm watching a team like Zach LaVine leads the team in scoring with 23 last night. Whoopee shit. He's a me-centric scorer that provides little else. All he's going to do is stunt the development of these young core guys. I hope to God that AK is going to sit there and trade this guy before the trade deadline. Because his contract's got to be at least somewhat appealing to a contender, maybe like the Nets that feel like they need a third scorer. That's what Zach LaVine is. What I'm mortified of and terrified of in terms of the possibilities is that this team's going to allow Zach LaVine to put up another season or two of meaningless, bigger scoring numbers. That's going to help him land a $30+ million a year max contract. I don't know about any Bulls fans, but I have absolutely zero interest in that. Like, Zach LaVine is not the future of this team. And we should not be in a situation where we're just continuing to watch him put up big numbers and then they're lucky to win games. Lauri Markkanen, just when you get excited, it's always something with him. And you look at the Warriors game, he was being assertive and aggressive. At times he looked like the best player on the floor. And then he hurt his ankle and he's out most of the rest of the game. It's like, Jesus H. Christ. You're in a contract year. If you ever have a time that you finally piece it together and show what you can really do, this would be the time. And frankly, they need to do more to make sure that Lowry is more a featured, integral part of this offense. Wendell Carter, he'll have a couple of games where he plays soft as shit. And then he'll have a good game like he did against the Warriors and follow it back up here with a solid game against the Wizards. And it's just so frustrating. It's what do you want to be, Wendell? Do you want to be a legit modern NBA center that could be a core building block and key rotational core piece of this Bulls team in the future? Or do you just want to be one big dick tease that's soft as Swift's cheese at many times when it really matters? Kobe White, I know fans look at him and they want him to be a Derrick Rose, but the reality is he's a Ben Gordon type right now and probably always will be, and maybe even a poor man's version of Ben Gordon. Really, really hot and cold at times when he's hot. From the outside especially, he could be dangerous. But this is a team that needs somebody that can facilitate, and White's just not that type of guy. Makes me wonder at some point in time this year if Kobe White's going to end up back on the bench and Satoransky, who is a better natural facilitator at the point guard position, is going to get a lot more run. And then Patrick Williams, I look at him and I say, I worry about things such as the mechanics of his shot. His form is actually solid, but his release is so damn slow. It is so damn slow. And I worry right now that I haven't seen him be much of a presence. You have an occasional blip on the radar, a flash that he's there. But other than that, not too much. I would like to see more stretches where you feel his presence on the floor. Where you could actually say, hey, you know what, this young kid is doing something. You look at the numbers from the Wizards game and you say, hey, he put up 12 points. He shot well from the field, relatively speaking. But do you really remember much of what he did? Do you really feel his presence? And what I like about Patrick Williams is his shooting touch is underrated. I love the arc he gets on his shot. And I think he's shown a little bit so far in these first 4 games that he can hit some shots. I want to see more of the offense geared towards him. Stop just letting Zach LaVine do whatever the F he wants, and then Kobe White does the rest of whatever F he wants. We need to be figuring out what Patrick Williams has. Because if Patrick Williams can become a big-time scorer and a big-time player in this league, the trajectory of this Bulls franchise changes significantly. But what absolutely will not happen is if you continue to sit there and run everything through LaVine and everything through Kobe White, Patrick Williams will not develop as much as he needs to, and it will delay the process for the Bulls. Bottom line is, it was good in a sense to see them get their first win of the season. It absolutely was. Get it out of the way. See some encouraging things, especially from Patrick Williams. On the flip side, I thought Avdia had some nice moments in that game as well. But 2 guys that I felt like are positioned to do more for their teams that are being kind of hamstrung right now, even though they're both starting. You can clearly see the teams aren't fully bought in and believing into what these guys can do, and I would like to see them unleashed a little bit more. And I hope Thursday, when these 2 teams face off again, that we'll be able to see that. But Bulls win. Russ hits a triple-double again, and nobody cares because they lost again. We'll see how the Bulls come out and the Wizards come out on Thursday night as they run it back again.